There is an island in the Indian Ocean where the trees look like they belong on another planet. They have thick, pale trunks that branch into dense, flat canopies shaped exactly like an umbrella. The sap inside them is deep red. They are called dragon blood trees, and they grow in only one place on Earth. This is Socotra, an island so isolated, so ancient, and so strange that it makes even the Galapagos look young. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this island evolved into something unlike anywhere else on the planet, why it's now disappearing faster than at any point in 17 million years, and why almost nobody is talking about it. Socotra sits in the Arabian Sea, roughly 240 kilometers east of the Horn of Africa and 350 kilometers south of the Arabian Peninsula. It is not the most remote island on Earth. That title belongs to Bouvet Island, a glacier-covered volcanic rock in the South Atlantic, about 1,600 kilometers from the nearest land, which is Antarctica. Bouvet has no permanent population. Norway claimed it in 1927 and designated it a nature reserve in 1971. It looks like another planet too, but for completely different reasons. Bouvet is barren, frozen, lifeless in most directions you look. Socotra is the opposite. It is alive in ways that exist nowhere else. The difference comes down to time. Socotra is geologically a fragment of the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, the vast southern landmass that broke apart over hundreds of millions of years into Africa, South America, Australia, and India. As the Arabian Peninsula rifted away from Africa around 30 million years ago, fragments of the original landmass were left behind. Socotra is one of them. By the time the island became completely surrounded by deep water around 17 to 20 million years ago, life on it was already cut off from the mainland. The Galapagos Islands, famous for their unique evolution, are only 3 to 5 million years old. Socotra has had 4 times as long to become something entirely its own. The result is staggering. Over 37% of Socotra's plant species exist nowhere else on the planet. 90% of its reptile species are found only here. The dragon blood tree is the most famous example, but it is far from the only one. The desert rose, the cucumber tree, dozens of species that have had millions of years to adapt to conditions found on this one island and nowhere else. But geology alone does not explain Socotra's isolation. There is a second factor that most people overlook: the monsoon. Every year from June to September, the southwest monsoon transforms the seas around the island. Wind speeds regularly exceed 40 knots. The waves build across the open Indian Ocean and arrive at Socotra with extraordinary power. For 5 to 6 months of every year, the island is effectively unreachable by sea. Even modern vessels struggle. This is not ancient history. This happens every single year. This annual cutoff shaped everything about human life on the island. People who arrived during the accessible months could not easily leave or be reinforced. Languages evolved in total isolation. The Socotri language, spoken by the island's 60,000 inhabitants, belongs to a group of South Arabian languages that are linguistically closer to ancient Ethiopian Semitic than to modern Arabic. It has no written form. UNESCO has classified it as endangered. Here is where the story gets strange in the best way. The same monsoon that cuts the island off from the rest of the world also sustains its forests. The low clouds of the monsoon season deposit water through fog even without rainfall. Research suggests that fog-derived moisture may account for up to 2/3 of the total water the island receives annually. The dragon blood trees evolved their distinctive umbrella-shaped canopy precisely to intercept this fog and channel the moisture down to their roots. They are not just survivors of isolation. They are machines designed by evolution to harvest clouds. Every branch, every leaf, arranged in that flat disc shape, is catching water from air that would otherwise pass right over. Now compare this to Bouvet Island. The Norwegian Polar Institute conducts research there, and as of 2023, their studies focus on climate change and its impact on polar environments. Bouvet's ecosystem is limited. Seals, penguins, seabirds. The harsh Antarctic climate, with average temperatures ranging from -2 degrees Celsius in summer to -10 in winter, prevents the kind of explosive speciation that Socotra experienced. Bouvet is isolated by distance. Socotra is isolated by time. And time, it turns out, is the more powerful force. Socotra technically belongs to Yemen, and Yemen has been consumed by one of the world's most devastating civil wars since 2014. The conflict has largely left Socotra untouched physically, but it has stripped away any capacity for conservation enforcement, waste management, or tourism regulation. The infrastructure for protecting a UNESCO World Heritage Site has effectively collapsed. The threats are specific and measurable. The goat population, animals introduced by humans over 2,000 years ago, now numbers 480,000 on an island of 60,000 people. That is 8 goats for every human. These animals eat the seedlings of the dragon blood tree, the desert rose, the cucumber tree. The adult trees alive today are not being replaced. They could be the last generation. Think about that. Trees that took millions of years to evolve into forms found nowhere else on Earth, and they may disappear within a single human lifetime because of goats. Tourism arrived in meaningful numbers in the early 2000s. It brought money but also pressure on fragile limestone soils and plant communities that have zero resilience to trampling and disturbance. Without enforcement infrastructure, the damage just accumulates year after year. There is a common belief that UNESCO World Heritage designation protects a place. It does not. The designation is a label. Protection requires people, funding, enforcement, and political stability. Socotra has the label, but almost none of the rest. An island that survived 17 million years of isolation is now facing pressures that have accumulated in less than 2 decades. Beauvais Island, by contrast, faces a different tension. There are ongoing discussions about potential resource exploration versus environmental protection. But Beauvais has the advantage of being genuinely uninhabitable. Nobody lives there, nobody grazes livestock there. Its remoteness is its shield. Socotra has no such shield. It has 60,000 people who need to live. It has 480,000 goats that need to eat. It has dragon blood trees that cannot regenerate because every seedling gets eaten before it grows past ankle height. It has a language with no written form spoken by people the world has largely forgotten about. And it sits in the territorial waters of a country at war. Sometimes the most extraordinary places on Earth are the ones nobody protects because nobody powerful enough is paying attention. Socotra has been evolving in isolation for 17 million years. Whether it survives the next 50 depends entirely on whether anyone decides it matters.